Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to another edition of my Detroit Sports Show right here on blogtalkradio.com, live from the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan, with yours truly, your host, Taylor Phillips. This is a special Tigers off-season edition, and if anybody has any opinions or want to join in on the conversation, you can call in at 646-478-4837. Again, that's 646-478-4837. This show will be 15 to 30 minutes long as always, and then after the show is all said and done, it'll be archived so you can all listen to it again because it's recorded. Again, the guest phone number is 646-478-4837. Again, that's 646-478-4837. You can still post your opinions and comments on my talk show post or on my timeline on my personal Facebook profile, Taylor Phillips, at facebook.com/Phil1DT. On my Detroit sports page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit sports page, and at facebook.com/Taylor's sports page, and in Taylor Phillips' Detroit sports group. And you can tweet me back on Twitter with your opinions. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. You can also search me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Google at Taylor Phillips. I'm simulcasting on YouTube via Google. There's also a chat window on blogtalkradio.com for you to comment your opinions. Before we begin, here are the guidelines for all the listeners of tonight's show. Number one, if you have called in, stay on the line so I can get to you for a talk. Number two, keep it very clean. Number three, treat each other with respect. Number four, if you don't know much about Detroit sports, you can still just listen. Number five, only I can change the topic because I'm the host of the show. Back to the number one guideline. If you hang up by mistake, not a big deal. Just redial this number, 646-478-4837, and then stay on the line. We have Adam Straczynski calling in. What's up, Adam?
How you doing, Taylor?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
So we're talking about the Tigers, as you know, how they've done with their moves in the off season. Right, we're just recapping the first part of the off season after they were eliminated in the ALCS against by the Red Sox, who went on to win the World Series. In this past season, the Tigers had their then manager Jim Leyland step down as manager and join the front office, and then they hired Brad Ausmus as their manager, Wally Joyner as their hitting coach, Juan Samuel as their first base coach and infield coach, with a defensive coordinator. They've added Dave Clark as their first base manager. Their old coaches, Lloyd McClendon, became the manager of the Seattle Mariners, and Tom Brookins was replaced. Jeff Jones is still the Tigers' pitching coach, and the Tigers just have a really good coaching staff, a great coaching staff, especially a very intelligent manager in Brad Ausmus. Very intelligent, very energetic. It'll actually be his first major league season as a Major League Baseball manager. He was a minor league manager, also a manager for Team Israel in the 2013 World Baseball Classic. So moving on from the coaches, the Tigers traded Prince Fielder to the Texas Rangers for second baseman Ian Kinsler. Prince Fielder used to play first base for 2 years for the Tigers previously, after playing most of his career with the Milwaukee Brewers. And they also got a new closer, Joe Nathan. Signed him to a $20-ish million deal. Forgot how many years that was. I think 4. I think, Adam.
It was 2. I believe it was 2.
Yeah, 2.
2 years at $10 million a season.
$10 million a season, so that's $20 million. So that's 2 years. Yep. Okay. So moving on to Rajay Davis, their new outfielder. They signed him to a 2-year, $24 million contract, I think.
Rajay Davis, it was 2 years, $5 million a season.
Oh.
So it was a $10 million contract.
So it's 10 million. 10 million. Okay. Yeah, that's cheap too. They also added a reliever, Jabba Chamberlain, from the New York Yankees, to a 1-year, $4 million contract, I think.
I believe that one was, I believe they got him on the cheap. I believe that was for $1.25 mil.
Oh, okay.
If I recall it correctly.
Per season, right? Oh, yeah. That was a 1-year deal, actually.
It was a one-year deal for 1.25.
Oh, okay. Even cheaper. Let's see.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else.
I apologize. It was $2.5 million.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's right. Yeah, I was trying to recall that too. I'm also trying to recall what other moves they made. Let me see here. Let me go to Tigers.com for a bit. Just bear with me for a second, Adam. Team archive. Oh yeah, the Tigers traded Doug Fister to the Nationals for 3 players. Two of them which are on the mound. Robbie Ray, apparently a relief pitcher, and Ian Kroll, a starting pitcher, and Steve Lombardozzi as a backup shortstop behind Jose Iglesias, who I think the Tigers should sign to a contract. Jose Iglesias. The Tigers are still looking to re-sign Scherzer, if they can have enough money to do that. Also, looking to re-sign Miguel Cabrera to an extension, but which I think it can wait for a little while longer, because Cabrera has 2 years left in his contract. And also, in the news archive lists, I see that Joaquin Benoit, relief pitcher, is not likely to return to the Tigers as their setup man. and they decided to go with Bruce Rondon. By the way, Ian Kroll is actually a lefty reliever, and Robbie Ray, of course, is indeed a lefty, a starting prospect pitcher. And Steve Lombardozzi is also an outfielder, an infielder and an outfielder. He's a utility guy behind, and he will be on the bench with Don Kelly, who will also back up Rajay Davis. Lombardozzi will back everybody up, not just Iglesias. But he will mostly likely back up Iglesias for most of the 2014 season and beyond.
While we're talking about the Fister trade, I have a question for you. What do you feel about that trade? Did you like that trade? I really feel like the Tigers.
I'm kind of half and half on that.
That trade was a little bit underwhelming.
I'm kind of half and half on the Fister trade. It was unfortunate to see him leave the Tigers, but I think we got three great players, three great bench players, including a prospect in Robbie Ray, and Ian Kroll will be a good relief pitcher along with Jabba Chamberlain and Bruce Rondon and the closer Joe Nathan. The Tigers had to try to free up more of their money to re-sign Scherzer and Cabrera, just the way they tried to do when they traded Prince Fielder to the Texas Rangers for Ian Kinsler.
I feel like that trade was really underwhelming. I feel like they could have got a little bit more for Fister. I feel like Fister was undervalued by this organization. I think almost anywhere else in the major leagues, you're looking at a stud number 3 pitcher in your rotation, and you can almost fit him in as your number 2. He's a very, very solid number 2 pitcher anywhere else in the major leagues. And we're over here in Detroit, and our rotation is so set, so deep that we have to be pitching as our 4th pitcher. So I really feel like he was undervalued. I really feel like they could have got a little bit more. However, I do feel like Robbie Ray will be, he is the key piece in this trade. I feel like in probably 2 or 3 years we'll really recognize the fruits of that trade, and he should be a stud. But I think that's one of those trades that's down the road, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a head scratcher because this team is in win now mode. I know what you're saying by trying to almost dump salary so they can free up a little bit to extend a contract to Scherzer and to sit there and extend out a contract to Cabrera. But a team that's in win now mode, that's a head scratcher because he's a very dominant number 4 pitcher.
Yeah. Fister was a dominant number 4 pitcher behind Sanchez, Verlander, and Scherzer all together the last 2 years. And with Fister gone, the Tigers plan to pull Drew Smyly up to the starting rotation from the relief rotation, and along with them, with Sanchez, Verlander, and Scherzer, and Porcello, who has struggled the past few years to pick up a win. Sometimes he had been pitching consistently, and sometimes he still gets beat up. Some games he just keeps getting beat up. Are the Tigers even planning to move Porcello, or what are they trying to do with him?
At this point, I really think Porcello is locked in as our number 5 starter. Actually, I think he's moved up to our number 4 starter to fill that role left by Fister. Smyly will sit there and take over Porcello's spot. So I think they're kind of stuck with Porcello now. With that Fister trade, I'd actually like to have seen them move Porcello, keep Fister, because I think Fister in his development was a little bit further along than Porcello. Like you said, he sits there and he has games where he looks really good, and there's other games where he just gets knocked all around the park, and before the first inning's done, he's already on the bench and we're going to the bullpen. So I think with Porcello, we still have some growing pains that we're going to have to work through. But he's going to be penciled in as the number 4 starter for the Tigers in this rotation. So hopefully next season he kind of comes up, he matures a little bit more, and we kind of see, hopefully he can pick up where Fister was kind of leaving off, and he doesn't get beat up as much going forward in his career. Because like I said, I think at this point they're beholden to Porcello because of that trade for Fister.
So how do we expect Rick Porcello to improve? I mean his bad innings have got to be put to an end if he wants to be a full-time starting pitcher. He's got to pitch better in each and every inning that he was than he had pitched in those 3 or 4 run innings or so, or 6 run innings. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I think with Porcello, I think really because he's a ground ball pitcher, so I think him pitching more to contact and getting more movement on his pitches will really help him and really help his career advance. The innings where he gets beat up and gets knocked around and he's putting crooked numbers up in those innings, I think it's more of a mental thing. It's a little bit maybe of a lazy arm, because he's not putting the movement that he needs to put on the ball. Ground ball pitchers, they tend to sit there and they throw the ball in such a way where when the ball comes off the bat, it's going right into the dirt. That way, it's giving your infield an option and an opportunity to get at that ball. The innings where he's really getting knocked around, the movement's not there. The arm and the arm slot look tired and lazy, and for whatever reason, those balls are either leaving the park or they're getting out into the outfield, where the outfielders can't really make a play on it. And as a ground ball pitcher, you really want that ball down in the dirt. You want it sitting there rolling along to your infielders. That way your infielders can pick it up and they can sit there and get the guys out at first base, possibly turn double plays if somebody does get on. So I think with Rick Porcello, I really think it's going to be another season of maturing, another season of him just kind of working on his command, trying to sit there and just develop those pitches that he has. And when they work well. But when they don't, it's like the wheels are falling off. So I think going forward, he just really has to dial in and really concentrate on what he's doing and work on that movement for those pitches. I think going forward into this season and the following season, I think we'll probably see that it was good that the Tigers kept the pitching coaches on to keep that familiarity with the guys who are on the mound and the guys in the bullpen. That goes a long way. Jeff Jones has done yeoman's work for these guys. You've really seen Verlander's career take off. You've seen Sanchez's career take off. You've seen Fister's career take off. You've seen Scherzer last year. You've really seen him really start to piece it together. A few years ago when Scherzer was on the mound and he was struggling, they sent him down to AAA. It was Jeff Jones who really stepped in and helped take him over. And then when the Tigers were having issues with their pitcher, or with a pitching coach, they sat there, fired their old pitching coach, brought in Jeff Jones, and from that moment on, all of these guys in the starting rotation really took leaps and bounds, steps forward. So I think another season under Jeff Jones' tutelage, I think Porcello will sit there and will mature. And I'm not going to say that he's gonna get all the kinks out, but I think he'll be better. I think he'll be more improved. I think he'll sit there and he'll work on that movement on his pitches, to where he'll sit there and he won't have put up crooked numbers in the first inning like he was doing last season and the season before.
So, you just mentioned a minute ago Jeff Jones that Jeff Jones is done, but then you mentioned with another season under Jeff Jones, Rick Porcello will be a little bit better. So kind of, but you're not really saying that Jeff Jones is done, right?
No. What I'm saying is it's another. It's good that the Tigers were able to keep him on as the pitching coach.
Yeah.
They didn't let him go. Since 2010, Rick Porcello's ERA has gone down substantially every season. And I really think that's a direct correlation to him and Jeff Jones working together. So I think it's a good thing that the Tigers were able to keep him on. They didn't lose him when Jim Whelan stepped away. When Brad Osmus came in, I think he recognized what Jeff Jones has done and what he brings to the table with his pitching staff. So I think it's a gold star on the Tigers organization, on Brad Osmus and Dave Dombrowski and everybody in the front office for realizing the work that he's done in the last couple of years with these guys. And I think it was a great idea to bring him back and keep him in the fold and keep him working with these pitchers. Because like I said, in 2010, Rick Porcello's ERA was at 4.92, almost 5, which is kind of ridiculous. After that, he gets down to 4.75. 2012, he's at 4.59, and last year, he's at 4.32. And last year, he sat there and almost tied his career wins record with 13. His career's high is 14, so it was a solid season, but you're right. He still has those innings where he just gets beat up, and that's what sends that ERA all out of whack, because he'll sit there and go really good for 2 or 3 games, and then he'll have just one inning, where he sits there and he gives up 9 runs. And you're sitting there scratching your head like, how the heck did that happen? So I think it's good that they kept Jeff Jones, and I think going forward, Rick Porcello, I think next year is going to be a big step forward for him. And I think you can probably count on 15 wins. I think you could probably look at his ERA moving down closer to just being an even 4 instead of a 4 and some change.
Yeah, I agree. The question I was going to ask, how does he work those 9+ innings, 9+ run inning Kings out of his own system? How will he flourish out of those?
You know what? I really think that it's just growing things with him. I think it's just him getting into the room, watching the tape, realizing what he was doing, checking his arm angle. These are all things that he's going to have to work on with Jeff Jones. Checking his arm angle, making sure that he's not sloppy on his release and his delivery. He's a different pitcher than what you see with Verlander and Scherzer and Sanchez. Those guys, they throw heat and they throw fire, and they're strikeout guys. They're going to sit there and they're going to wind up, they're going to throw it right down the middle of the plate. They're going to say, hey, you catch it if you can, and if you can, I'm going to give you a thumbs up and I'll pat you on the back. He's a different guy. He's more, if you're going to look at him and you want to compare him to somebody, he needs to be like Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux never really sat there and had anything strong when he threw it. But Greg Maddux had movement on his pitches and he could place the ball. With Porcello, he's got to work on the movement on his pitches, and he really's got to work on where he puts the ball. He's got to work on painting the outside corners and painting the inside corners. You can't sit there, you can't throw it down the middle and say, hey, catch it if you can, because 9 times out of 10, the batter's going to catch it, and they're going to send it out of the park. So he really just has to work on his movement, work on his placement of his pitches. These are all things that he can do off the field with Jeff Jones. These are all things that he can do in the offseason while he's sitting there, studying his game film that he put out there from last year, sitting there talking with Jeff Jones while they're away from the field. And then when they hit spring training, these are all things that him and Jeff Jones can work on together and get corrected.
Adam Straczynski from Detroit Sports Podcast. You can follow him at Adam R. Strohs _DSPC. Also follow Detroit Sports Podcast on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Also follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. I'm Taylor Phillips, and this is Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Adam, I got one question to ask you. I'm thinking the man of the year would be one man, Brad Osmus, the new manager. How will he lead the Tigers to a World Series championship overall with this new look roster?
you know what? I think you touched on it in the very beginning. You sat there and you basically gave him praise on his intelligence. The word around the major leagues is he's extremely intelligent. He knows how to run a pitching staff because he was a catcher. He knows the X's and O's. So I think if he's going to do it all basically on his intelligence, on his brain. So I look for him to sit there and almost try to outsmart the other managers. He's been given a very solid lineup. I don't think this team is as good as it was last year just based on some of the offseason moves that Dombrowski has done. But I think that Dave Dombrowski and Brad Ausmus have sat there and they've worked together and they're having a meshing of the mind. And the team that's going out there is the team that Brad Ausmus has approved and that Brad Ausmus wants. And I think that they're going to do it basically X's and O's. He's going to use his intelligence. He's going to use his knowledge of the game from what he had as a player and what he has learned basically in a front office role over the last couple of seasons to really help get this team to where they need to be to win a World Series.
Yeah, let's hope he uses his intelligence, his extreme intelligence every single game, and win or lose. I think Brad Ausmus will be a great manager on his very first year as a major league manager, especially for the Detroit Tigers, who need a manager who knows how to run a pitching staff, an entire pitching staff. It is from starting rotation to relief rotation, and we have about 3:19 winding down on our show. Do you have any predictions thus far for 2014?
I'm thinking the Tigers win their division. I'm thinking they get into the playoffs. Once they get in the playoffs, it's going to be it's questionable. I think they have enough talent, and I think they're built well enough with what they have in their rotation. And I like what they've done, how they've addressed their bullpen. If you remember last year, the bullpen was the weak link. So I like what they've done to address that. I like what they've done with the rotation. I really do think this year, the trade for Fister was kind of a black mark on Dave Dombrowski's offseason. I tend to overvalue Fister, though. But I think they have all the pieces, and I think they have the coach with the IQ that they can possibly win a World Series. I do think they win the division. I think they get into the playoffs, and I think they have a great shot at winning the World Series.
Yeah, I think so too. I exactly agree with you, Adam. Are there any other moves that the Tigers you think the Tigers should make, or do you think they're perfectly set? 2 minutes.
Earlier in our conversation, you had said that they weren't going to bring Benoit back. I think that for what Benoit wants, he's asking 2 years, $14 million. I think you go out, you offer him 2 years, and you sit there and maybe you go $10, maybe $12 million. Bring him in, you have him as your setup guy. Your bullpen is now locked down, and you're not going to have the issues that you had last year. And I would like to do that. I'd like to see that move. That way your bullpen is set. And if anything goes wrong with Nathan, then you've got a guy who you know can close games because he did it last year for you. 90 seconds.
Yeah, and that is Joaquin Benoit, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Straczynski, I thank you for the chat, and hopefully we'll get to talk Friday at 11 p.m. for the Lions edition, Saturday at 11 for the Red Wings edition, and Sunday night at 11 for the Pistons edition, right here on Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on blogtalkradio.com. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it.
60 seconds.
So that's gonna do it for this special Tigers off-season edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Once again, I'd like to thank Adam Straczynski from Detroit Sports Podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam R. Strohs with a Z at the end _DSPC, and follow Detroit Sports Podcast at Detroit Podcast, and follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Coming up Friday at 11 is the Lions edition. Until then, this is Taylor Phillips saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.